I'm going live too. Okay. Oh, are we live?
It's
We
your
live.
first time going.
It's my first time going live on YouTube.
So this
Oh,
the
okay.
premiere.
This is who better to be. Oh yes,
Lord have mercy.
we sure are. Okay. Let me
Well,
mute
I'm honored
this.
to be the first, and may I not be the last.
Whoop whoop. Eric Troy in the house. Yeah, introduce yourself to everybody. Just introduce yourself to the audience, because this is real relaxed. Because I don't know what this is either. So we about to just figure it out together. You know. I figured
Well,
we could
hello.
catch up and do our visibility challenge and kill two birds with one stone. Cause I talked to you in a minute. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, I'm with all of that. I'm with
Yes.
all of that. We can we can get all of these groups in at the same time and have a merry conversation because it has been a minute,
It's
Kimmy.
been a minute. It's been a minute.
It has been a minute. Well, I go by, oh my goodness, all my social media handles lately, I go by Baba Eric, but my full name is Eric Troy Jr. I consider myself first and foremost a teacher. I am a writer, and I am a connoisseur of Black culture. Um, I I take I take the gifts that I have been given, which is writing and speaking, and I use it to liberate Black people in however way has been put on my heart to do so. And that has manifested itself in blogging, that has manifested itself in community service, that has manifested itself in poetry, that has manifested itself in now a vision for a school. So, but first and foremost, I am a teacher. That's what I consider myself at this stage in my life, a teacher.
And history. You have a history. History was your background. Well, your one of
Yes,
your specializations in teaching.
yes. Well, my master's, my second degree is in history. My first love actually is psychology from Florida A&M University, renowned psychology program, one of only two in the nation that has an undergraduate focus on African psychology. So the experience, and I've been touting that um, since I left FAMU. I've been touting that degree because the more I dig deeper into the things that I'm doing, the more I find myself applying that degree more than any other,
Mm.
honestly, and the things we learn from it. Um, but yeah, background in history, psychology, and then civic education. That's what I teach: civics, American history, and like culture, things like that.
So
And
for
public
people,
speaking.
oh, okay. So for people who may not know what's Baba mean.
Baba actually has several meanings. First and foremost, um, it loosely translates to father. And I started going by Baba Eric when I started teaching in Chicago. I taught at the Betty Shabazz Charter, International Charter, and they introduced me to African centered education. And in African centered education, rather than having Mr. and Mrs., you have Mama and whoever the female teacher's first name, and Baba and whoever the uh, male teacher is first name. And the perspective behind that, or the thinking behind that, is that teachers in the African culture are an extension of the family. And so when we call our female teachers Mama Kimmy and our males Baba Eric, it is to signify that teachers, they part of the family too. And that's how I approach the classroom. And I tell my students all the time, I've told parents, um, Mr. Right, for one, to just feel that's my granddad. My granddaddy is Mr. Right. So even when I was coming up, in preschool and all that, I went by
Right.
Mr. Troy, Mr. T, Mr.
Right.
Eric. I've never been Mr. Right. So when I got to Chicago, and then the type of work they put in, I was like, oh yeah. Even when I left Chicago, I was like, oh yeah, this is what I do. I'm about this what it is. And then it also means born on a Thursday, and I happen to have been born on a Thursday. So
So the kids called you that in your first name, not Baba Wright. It was Baba Eric.
It was Baba Eric. Yes, Baba Eric and Baba E.
Mm, okay. Okay. Wow. Wow. What was it like teaching at Lady Shabazz, right?
Yes, Betty Shabazz International Charter.
Lady
Yes.
Shabazz.
Um,
Versus teaching at
it,
traditional.
well, first and foremost, it was Inglewood, Chicago. So that in itself was an experience.
Is
But
that
it
South Side of
was,
Chicago?
oh, that is the southern side of Chicago. Inglewood. I think it was 67th Stewart, if I remember. But
Oh.
I say that humbly because the African centered instruction that was going on in that building, like I had never seen something so black in my life. Every classroom draped in red, black, and green, like posters of Malcolm X and all these leaders in every classroom. The kids walk around in dashikis. I'm like, is this real?
Oh,
Is
that's
this real?
uniform?
Yes, their uniforms were red, black, and green polos. I'm like, what is going on? Every day they was required to come in traditional African garb.
Mm,
And every morning, they would have unity circle. They would open with a drum ceremony. Everybody would come in together. And I'm like, oh, this is home.
that's you.
This is home. Yeah, that was me all day. So that's kind of where I learned what it meant to be a teacher versus what it meant to be Baba. I learned the difference in the two.
Mm, mm. What was the difference? I mean, how do you feel it affected the children differently versus what you see in traditional or what you've seen in traditional public schools?
African centered education.
Mm-hmm. With children of color, or well, specifically black children or African American children or black in some capacity.
Well, first and foremost, I can say this because remember I took the Baba Eric. I took African Center education with me after I left Chicago.
Right.
So one of the things that I found when I did that, because I went from a 100% African American black school to a 80% school that was made up primarily of Hispanic, Black, Asian, Native American, and multi-race. So children of color, quote unquote. But what I found was in that setting, African-centered education and some of the methods that worked in that all-black setting resonated with those children, even the white children. Everybody was learning.
Good.
Um,
Good.
and even when I started doing some of the research that reinforces African ACE at this, I say ACE, nothing really speaks to the impact it has on like white children, Hispanic children. So I ain't writing. I should have been writing this down. Be like, hey, this worked for them. White children learn in African city education. Hispanic children learn in African city education. It worked with them, or
Mm.
worked for them.
Mm. What did you notice? Well, in the education system, for those who are in education, there is
Mm-hmm.
disproportionalities, especially when it comes to discipline and behavior referrals, especially with African American and Latino Hispanic males. What differences
Mm-hmm.
did you pick up from how discipline was handled, or the amount of referrals, or just dynamics? Because, like you said, it wasn't that it was just a nicer area with a higher socioeconomic status. You say you were in the southwest side of Chicago. Yeah. So,
Yes.
how do you feel that played a part? And it was a big, from what I know you've explained to me before, there was a lot of parental involvement, or correct, or expected from that school, or because it was close, the kids could walk. So
Mm-hmm. It was a
transportation
neighborhood
was,
school.
yeah, okay, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not common in a lot of places. Usually kids might have to be
No,
bused. Right.
no, that was actually the first time I had worked in a school that I could walk to. It was a little walk, but I could walk to it.
Right.
But I actually took the bus. But uh, the thing with Chicago, and I really can't even say that it was any different because it wasn't any different when I taught in the suburbs in Tampa. Um, was the amount of trauma
Mm.
these children ingest at a very young age,
Right.
but the amount of resilience that they had at a very young age.
Mm.
That was something that was striking, is even at waking up to the SWAT team, Chicago PD, kicking your neighbor's door down at 3 a.m. That's waking you up next door. You still coming to school every day, eager to learn. You know,
Right.
and a lot of things I saw in Chicago too was when they say the village. I mean the village. You will have, I mean, 4 sets of grandparents, a mom, a dad, 3 or 4 aunties, everybody checking in on this one boy or this one little girl, because for a lot of them, this it. This all we got. So we gonna make sure that you get to where you need to go. And if it take all of us to be
Right.
on you, that's what it takes.
Right. Right. That's deep.
Yeah.
So you have coined your first. Well, you started with the audio version of your book first. Um,
Yes.
tell us
Well,
about tell,
I started with a written version
the
first.
written version. Then you put it to
Mm-hmm.
words. It's written on your website. The chapters are on your website, correct? And
Yes.
the audio version is on your website as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So tell everybody about it, or
Yes.
like what made you want to write it? Where did the premise come from? Like, is it something that you had just started over, many years, and then you just said, I need to put all of this together? How did it kind of actualize?
Okay, so is my teaching in vain? Shout out to the Clark sisters who put that on my heart at the time I was trying to figure out what to name it. But it came about, it actually chronicles the last 2 years of my teaching experience in the classroom.
Mm.
So um, I don't reference Chicago very much at all in the book, but it actually started out how it became to be a book. It started out as a 6-page letter
Mm.
to my parents because I had to resign in January under, I mean, it was just so much sexism, so much racism, so much ageism, so
Mm.
much gender. I mean, it was just so much stuff going on that I just resigned very quickly right after Christmas break. So it started as a 6-page letter to my parents explaining this is why I left. And what it ballooned into as the weeks went on, as the months went on, it ballooned into almost this manifesto of, you know what, I'm tired of as a teacher being treated like I don't matter
Mm.
simply because I care. Because
Right.
that's what it is. When people know you care,
Right.
and when people know that you will give your last for these children, they take advantage of that
Right.
and they use that, you know? And being in education for 13 years, working with white women for majority of that for 13 years, you see a lot of stuff, you deal with a lot of stuff. And I dealt with a level of covert and overt racism that it just got too much.
Right.
So by the time the book came along in August, I had just put all those experiences together, um, and I posted on the website. But I recorded myself reading chapter 1 just to kind of hear how it sounded to me, and I liked the way it sounded, so I went ahead and recorded the whole thing over the next 2 weeks. And it's pretty provocative. I'm just, and get the people going. But I'm gonna be honest with you. It's my honest, unadulterated, no holds back, unapologetic look at what a black man has to deal with in dealing with all types of white women in this field.
Mm.
And chapters 1 and 2 and 3, I keep it real cute. But by 4, the truth, the truth shall set you free. But I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it. It's a 12-hour read or it's a 12-hour listen. So if you're a binger or even if you just some type of people that just like to
Digest.
you know
Listen.
digest, go through your day because it's a lot to digest. Um, but I really recommend it for, first and foremost, I recommend it for white women. And
Mm-hmm.
it's funny that this challenge that you have us doing, this visual visibility, because it's forcing me to look at my entire. It's forcing me to do a lot of stuff I had planned on doing, but I'm
Right.
glad you got me doing it.
Right.
And one of the things I'm doing right now is reassessing my target market
Mm.
and who I really want my book and my products to be aimed at. Uh,
Correct.
right now, my target market is Black millennial teachers. But the things that I'm saying and the things that I'm writing and who will benefit the most from this is really white women who teach.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I agree
they would be my
because
primary.
yeah, because actually I was actually it's funny you said that because I was talking with my grandma about that today. And we were just talking about, like the George Floyd or, everything that's going on politically and people are tired about it and standing up. And some people don't always agree with me with this, but I was telling her too, I was like, yeah, well, it's going to take more white people standing up and saying something. She's like, right, because it's not enough of us. I was like, no, because people need to see that wrong is wrong, even if you don't belong to that group. Do you see what I'm
Mm,
saying? I can still say, someone should not be treated like this because they are Asian, even though I'm not Asian. You see what I'm saying? Or someone shouldn't be treated like
mm,
this because of the neighborhood they live with, because of their sexual preference, even if I don't belong in that group. And that comes down to advocates and allies and things like that and the importance of that. And I think she's like, yeah, I was like, no, seriously, it has to be other people to say, no, this isn't right. We wouldn't have saw the uproar like with the George Floyd. Not that that was the first time that happened. We wouldn't have saw the uproar in the media if it would have just only been black people doing that.
no,
We
no.
we
Do you
wouldn't
see what
we wouldn't
the
it wouldn't
revolution
have.
is happening? No, the revolution is happening in cities like Seattle and
Right,
Minnesota,
right.
states like Connecticut. Like
Yes.
them some white women that's shaking some tables right now. And so and as they should. As they should. Black folks, we've done enough. We've done enough. You know what I'm saying? There's enough. This you got it. You got it. So I don't mind pulling them in the right direction
But I
and letting
think
them
that
pay me very well to do so.
yeah, no, I believe it comes to like you said, it's for the people that might be in the groups, but I think advocacy and education is so important, especially like if you come with people like me or you who just be like, well, you know what? I just take my talents elsewhere. And there's been
Mm-hmm.
contracts and things I've been like, you know what, I'm done. I'm not gonna take it. Whether I see it and just being a person who has left situations where it wasn't even me being treated wrong, it was somebody else because I felt so strongly about how we treat our children or how we treat people who belong to certain groups. I just stand up because it was wrong. But really, in the end of the day, they just saw me as a headache. It didn't really make that ripple that I wanted it to go forward. And I think that's why on the front end, people like you are so important to be people who go and educate, to be people who go in and do trainings for staff and for individuals on sensitivity and culture and differences. And even at one of my first jobs I had, even as a school psych, and actually it was, I just had I guess you would say, a supervisor at the time who was woke, as we would say now. I believe they just don't get it. They just don't get this demographic. We can't say everybody has like a learning disability. Some of these people have not been exposed to things. This has nothing to do with race, just more socioeconomic status. And she said, Kimmy, these are just a lot of, middle class white women. And that most teachers are grew up middle class white women, grew up as middle class
Mm-hmm.
white women. So when it comes to differences, even with just males and sensitivity, that's why I try to explain to parents, boys and girls, we're just not culturalized the same or socialized the same. So,
Mm-hmm.
like the bouncing and the moving and things like that, as a little girl at a certain point, we're told you're supposed to sit down or you're supposed to act a certain way. And so when somebody's different or you don't understand or get it, even just how you speak to someone. So
Mm-hmm.
the differences in what that can do with people, but also just to be understanding of um, how some things can be perceived as disrespectful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hold on, cuz. Go ahead.
Yeah, so how those
My
things can
bad.
be viewed as disrespectful. So I think that is important. So it started as a letter. So you did all of this from January of last year through August, January of 2020 through August of 2020, correct?
Yes, yes. A small portion of it, because it ended up being like 100, a little more than 100 pages, maybe like 106 pages.
Mm.
A small portion of it uh, was from like August of the or September of the previous school year, because I had tried to resign then because I was over their shenanigans. Because it also highlighted some things I was dealing with, but the majority of it was written between January 9th and August 17th
Oh.
of this year.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. So you have left the classroom, correct?
I have left the traditional classroom.
Classroom.
Yes, I have. I'm not going back to that. No. Mm-mm.
Mm.
Mm-mm. That's just the type of teacher that I am. The type of it's just not for me. Um, what our children need right now, what Black education needs right now, is radical revolution. And the pace, I'm just at a point in my life right now. I'm 34. I've been teaching. I'm going into my 14th year. I don't have any more patience for uh, the when and the if. I'm finna almost cuss. I want it right now. You see what I'm saying? And when all this pandemic stuff went down, this was the time to truly revolutionize education.
Mm.
And all they trying to do is put these kids back into the same model with a virtual piece. And it doesn't work like that. We
Explain.
have to tear this, you know what I'm saying? We have to tear this thing down and meet these children where they are, meet these families where they are. And we're trying to go back into a burning building. And I'm just not with that. I ain't with that.
So what
Not
should people do who cannot? I mean, who don't have the option? Because some
who don't have the
places,
option of doing.
for what are you saying in regards to in person or just like resources as far as like availability to digital, like internet, you know.
Okay, so let me tell you what the rich white people been doing, but now they're just talking about it more because the people who just under the rich white people can afford to do it now. What the rich white people been doing and what we need to start figuring out how to do is pull together what they call learning pods. So all what they're doing is really hiring like
Yeah, they
three or
hire a teacher, get 3 or 4 families
you know
together and a teacher, right? Are you talking about that?
exactly
Yeah.
yes.
Mhm.
That same model can be sustained and duplicated among Black people.
Oh
That
yeah.
very same model. You know what I'm saying? So first, but it would take multiple families and
Mm-hmm.
multiple children saying, "I want something different." So commitment will be first and foremost. Um, but it's very possible and it's very doable. It's not something that we can't do. And then also, there's always the option of homeschool. I know some people probably didn't see themselves as teachers over this pandemic, but if there's
They
nothing
had
else to
to.
be learned, you
Yeah.
better know how to teach your child because you never know when you got to teach your child.
Right.
So it'd be nice to know a strategy or two just as a parent how to engage your child.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree. So, what's next for you? What is it? What do you? Or what do you? What do you want to do next in 2021?
Oh, and today is the new moon. So I speak this, with authority. I speak this confidently. I speak this humbly. Um, First and foremost, I manifest the year of 2021 to continue to be a year of blessings and health. First and foremost, I want that. Let me stay healthy in my right mind, in my right body, with a sound spirit.
Right.
Um, First and foremost, but materialistically, over the next year, um, the end goal this time next year is to be opening a brick and mortar version of my own school in
Hmm.
Tampa, Florida. That's the vision. Between now and then, I'm looking to turn Is My Teaching in Vain into a podcast over the next year.
Hmm.
I'm working on a civic education curriculum around the more radical speeches and writings of Dr. King, which comes out the 18th of 2021. So that's how I'm kicking off the year, and that'll ride through Black History Month. Um, and just recently, what started out as a joke with my mom um, actually has turned into me developing a aerobics routine or some type of aerobics class where we're laying the foundation for an aerobics class for senior citizens and older people
Oh,
with um, like knee problems and
right,
dizzy,
right.
issues. Because I do a lot of dancing to Aretha Franklin, so I was like, you know what, I'm finna
It's
just do some Aretha Williams.
like Zumba, but woke
Yes,
Zumba.
but for older, yes, that take into account knees and all of that stuff. So you know, I don't know when that's coming out, but I challenge myself to do something with that
Oh, good.
over the next year. So
So you got to be visible,
I have to be visible, child. That's
and you
just,
deserve to be visible. That's what I tell, and that's
and
one of the
I
reasons
deserve to be visible. I do. I
we
do. I
our
do.
voices, and that's one of the reasons this was so important to me. One, you have to be visible now, just with everything that's going on.
Yes.
But so many of us have been silenced through so many different things, and
Mm.
our voices deserve to be heard, even if we don't know what we want to say. So even your history, so many have died for us to have the rights that we have now, even though they are skewed. So many have died for us to have the rights that we have, and we have the right to have a voice. We have the right to be
Absolutely.
seen, and that's one of the big reasons I wanted to do the visibility challenge, especially for minority content creators, influencers, entrepreneurs. We deserve to be visible. We deserve to have our voice out there. And I think if nothing, even from the George Floyd situation, even though I know that was not an isolated incident, we need to be visible. And that's one reason when I did my podcast, like little mini group with my three past guests that were on my show with Justice Wally. I don't know if you saw his episode. He was an ex gang member who turned into an urban life coach. Maurice Wilson, who was a financial planner and investment advisor, and then Tyran Cosby, Beard Talk with a Vet, a retired Marine vet who went on to be an entrepreneur. They're all three black men with three different ways that they went about life, but we need to see that there are different types of black men, whether outside of what just society shows, outside of what's just shown on the news. People need to
Mm-hmm.
hear different voices of black men, and I didn't feel that there was enough black male podcasters. And so I encourage you, definitely, you too. You have a voice, and I know I know you as a good friend, as an ex coworker. I know you from all the way back from FAMU. Well, we didn't even know each other when we were there together at the same time, but from working there forward. So yes, you have a voice that needs to be heard, and people need to hear that. And that's what I even talked to Tyran about. People need to hear the variety of experiences of different black men. You know, so yeah, you deserve to be heard. We deserve it, and creating that footprint that can be heard from generations to generations. And even like when I talked to Tyran, the vet on my show, and he has sons, and he raised his son, and I say, some of these advices that you give are justice, because he's a urban life coach. Some You might be speaking to some young man or somebody who doesn't have the option or the opportunity to tell their sons, or they don't, or to hear that from their father. You might be the closest to a father figure some people might even get, but it goes from just that community you can work with when you go and volunteer at a center to somebody who can just pick it up and listen to it on YouTube.
Mm.
And so it creates a global outreach. And sometimes I'll get people say, well, I don't want to be out big globally. It is not being big globally, but I have started to, even with myself, have to say, if I have all these gifts and I have all these passions, isn't it kind of selfish for me? I believe in God, whatever your higher power. Isn't it kind of selfish for me to just leave this earth and take all of it with me? you know? And that's why with video, and that's why with visibility, and that's why with podcasting, there's so many different ways that we can allow people to hear the voice, like Kobe Cambon from who we had for Florida A&M. That was a powerful voice. You have to hear it to understand. You have to see it
Mm-hmm.
to get it. But once somebody's had it, they've
Mm-hmm.
had that experience, they know it. You see what I'm saying? Like, you
Mm-hmm.
get it. You can read the book, but if you hear him speak, you know what I mean? That's what I mean.
Absolutely.
That's what I mean about that.
Absolutely.
So yes, I definitely
Absolutely.
encourage you to keep going, keep podcasting, keep video, because you you deserve it. Anything that comes, I know you're going to be successful in it because you're a hard worker. But one, you deserve to have your voice heard, and we have the right to do it. And especially now, you
Mm.
don't have the politics behind you. You can say what you want. Just like
Listen.
Tyrant. We just had to put the warning label on it. Just like we were talking about that. I said, look, listen, we just have to put a warning label on it because some people, I can't take all that cussing. He cuss. Who he cuss. But that's him and that's his story. And he's, even my mom today was like, whoa, all that cussing. She's like, you doing that
Okay.
cussing on your show? I said, his show's different. He just wasn't guest nobody.
Okay. Well,
I
I'm
guess
gonna tell you
nobody.
this right now. I'm gonna tell you this right now. Working with white women for 13 years, it make you cuss. So it's a I'm gonna tell you that right now. I behave for the first 3 chapters, but by the 4th chapter, I had my little glass of cognac, and I'm telling it all. I'm telling it all.
Yes. Well, we're going to be
So,
back and talk more because there's a lot that you've done. I want to talk some more about some of the stuff we've worked on together, some of the things that we've done, some of the projects we've done, because you've done a lot with event planning and management and
mm,
just executing it too. Um,
mm,
and just even getting some feedback to you on what people can do. Because some children might be high risk right now. They might have a high risk. Some people have no option other than to virtual learn. And maybe you can come and give us
mm,
some perspective on how to virtually educate our children or how to virtually educate children of color or high needs children. For some people who cannot, just don't have the option for really doing the in-person day-to-day or things like that. What are some ways people can maybe adapt their curriculum to make sure they're still reaching it, or just different modalities? I think those would be good. Not even just for educators, but I think some parents would appreciate that too.
I'm down. I'm down.
So we gonna be back. I
I'm
don't know if it'll
down.
be 2 more sessions, but we gonna break it out. I know you still getting used to the visit. I mean, once you start, it ain't too bad. We almost done. We almost did 10 days. And you've come a long way. You went from posting old stuff to now you posting new things. You
Yeah.
posting in a group. So that was the thing. If people could post in it, and now you putting
Mm-hmm.
stuff on your own thing. I was like, oh, he about to take it. He about to take over.
Yeah, it's just me.
You need a
I
little
just need
warm up.
a
Yeah.
little push. But once I get on my groove, I'm in my groove.
Yes, but keep
But
your podcast and keep your video up because I think it will expose more people to it, especially YouTube, because YouTube is a big search engine after Google. Get your videos up. Get your videos up talking about that. Get your videos up. Get clips up from your audiobook and expand out on it. Let people hear and see you talk about it. Just like I said with teaching, let
Sam,
people see you teaching. Let people see that stuff.
you finna make me work.
Watch me work 2021. We about to do it. I'm about to be doing
Oh,
it too. I'm about to be uncomfortable too. We got to, right?
that's real. I ain't gonna open nobody's school without it. You
Yes,
right?
yes, yes. Well, thank you
You
so
right.
much, Baba Eric. Well, tell people where they can find you at on, and I put it too, your website
Um,
where they can listen to the book or read the
so
chapters.
the book is on Spotify, Google, Apple Music, Anchor, and Google Play. Is My Teaching in Vain? I think it's on. I need to check to see if it's on Apple, but it's on Spotify and the other 3, Google Play and Anchor. I'm Baba Eric 2020 on Instagram and Twitter, and my website is babaeric.com, which right now it houses the book, the audiobook, and the written version of the book, as well as some of my old writings. But over the next few weeks, it'll be the home to the civic education curriculum that I'll be rolling out in January.
So it's your own hub
So
for all things Baba Eric.
all things Baba Eric, baby. All things Baba Eric.
Okay, well, you be back. We're gonna be back to talk about some more, to showcase. You've done some other great things in the past too. We want to just showcase some of the things you worked on, some of the projects too. Make sure we give people a good understanding of kind of where you come from and how you've gotten here and different things you've kind of overcome. And from now to then, that gives me time to 12 hours ain't a long time. That gives me time to listen to your audiobook. So I'm gonna have some more juicy stuff to talk about too.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. Good night. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And babaeric.com, correct?
Yes, darling. I'm finna go up in and clean it up now.
Okay. Oh, you said listen. I didn't put more work up. You said, I saw you put the website last. You was like, you can go to Spotify. You can go here and the website.
In the meantime, child. But you know what? Again, if we're gonna make this thing happen in 2021, we got to work. So
We
I ain't
all
mad at
love
all. Thank
it.
you so much for this, Kimmy. I appreciate it. You
You're
really
welcome.
keeping me honest. And I'm gonna look back over this December and I'm gonna be like, you know what? This December was when this thing really got off. That's when I set this thing up. So I appreciate
Yes. Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much. And everybody tune back in, and I will put the link in the description. Cause we going to the top, and I'm so happy to see my friends. Some people I know deserve it at the next level. To see y'all go there too.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Night, everybody.
Bye.